On January 11, 2026, the Philippines assumed the chairmanship of ASEAN, a routine rotation, but in extraordinary times. The South China Sea is a flashpoint, and Manila is at its center, locked in a tense standoff with Beijing over disputed waters. This leadership role thrusts the Philippines into a delicate balancing act, advancing its own interests while uniting a diverse 10-member bloc. The world is watching to see if Manila can steer ASEAN toward a unified response, or if internal divisions will stall progress. The stakes are high. Freedom of navigation and the international rules-based order are at risk. As chair, the Philippines must guide ASEAN's response, de-escalating tensions, fostering dialogue, and pushing for a long-awaited code of conduct with China. Recent months have seen escalating incidents at sea, with confrontations between Philippine and Chinese vessels becoming routine and dangerous. These encounters, involving water cannons and aggressive maneuvers, underscore the urgency of the moment. For Manila, the chairmanship is a megaphone, an opportunity to internationalize the dispute and frame it as a matter of regional security. The effectiveness of this approach will define ASEAN's year and the region's stability. The Philippines must act as chief diplomat and consensus builder, even as some ASEAN members maintain close ties with Beijing. The challenge here are major. Can Manila leverage its platform to advance a collective stance, or will divisions persist? The answer will shape not just the Philippines' legacy, but the future of ASEAN. The region is holding its breath. Success is far from guaranteed, but the effort itself will define 2026. How Manila uses its leadership will be a key story to watch. The South China Sea dispute is a tangled web of overlapping claims by 6 parties: China, the Philippines, Vietnam, Malaysia, Brunei, and Taiwan. At stake are the Spratly and Paracel Islands, Scarborough Shoal, and the rich resources beneath these waters. China's sweeping 9-dash line, first drawn in the 1940s, claims nearly 90% of the sea, overlapping with the exclusive economic zones of several ASEAN states. This clash between historical claims and modern international law, especially UNCLOS, is the heart of the conflict. For countries like the Philippines and Vietnam, the sea is vital for food security, energy, and sovereignty. Allowing another nation to control these waters is seen as an unacceptable concession. ASEAN has tried to manage the disputes collectively, signing a non-binding declaration on conduct with China in 2002. But without enforcement, tensions have only escalated. The region's resources and sovereignty remain in limbo. The need for a robust, legally binding code of conduct has never been more urgent. The stakes are not just economic but existential for the nations involved. The world is watching how ASEAN will respond. In July 2016, the Permanent Court of Arbitration ruled in favor of the Philippines, rejecting China's 9-dash line and affirming Manila's rights under UNCLOS. The tribunal condemned China's land reclamation and clarified that features like Mischief Reef are within the Philippines' exclusive economic zone. This was a landmark legal victory for Manila and a win for the rules-based order. Yet China dismissed the ruling as null and void, refused to participate, and continued its activities in the disputed waters. The Philippines gained a powerful legal tool, but little practical change at sea. China's rejection of the ruling has created a major impasse, exposing the limits of international law when a major power refuses to comply. Manila continues to cite the ruling in diplomacy, but enforcement remains elusive. The legacy, a clear legal victory, but a stalemate on the water. The world sees the gap between law and power. The Philippines and its allies must navigate this reality. The challenge is ongoing. Since the 2016 ruling, confrontations between Philippine and Chinese vessels have become routine and dangerous. The main flashpoint, Second Thomas Shoal, where the Philippines maintains an outpost on the BRP Sierra Madre. Chinese Coast Guard and militia vessels routinely block, shadow, and use water cannons against Philippine resupply missions. These tactics are designed to intimidate and obstruct, making each mission a high-stakes test of resolve. China's gray zone strategy, using non-military means to assert control, avoids outright war, but changes facts on the water. Manila responds with assertive transparency, publicizing incidents to rally international support. The narrative, the Philippines defending its rights against a larger aggressor. These confrontations are now central to Manila's diplomatic campaign. The world is watching every move. ASEAN's consensus model is both its strength and its Achilles heel. On the South China Sea, member states are deeply divided. Some, like the Philippines and Vietnam, push for a strong response. Others, like Cambodia and Laos, are reluctant due to economic ties with China. This division often leads to watered-down statements or deadlock. Countries like Indonesia, Malaysia, and Singapore try to broker compromise, but bridging the gap is daunting. China exploits these divisions, using economic leverage to prevent a unified ASEAN stance. For Manila, forging consensus is the ultimate test of leadership. It must persuade, not pressure, its neighbors. Any misstep risks fracturing the bloc. The challenge: unite ASEAN without alienating key members. Success would strengthen ASEAN's credibility. Failure would deepen perceptions of irrelevance. The Philippines' chairmanship hinges on its ability to build bridges. The stakes: ASEAN's unity and its role in regional security. The world is watching for signs of real progress. The Philippines' top priority as ASEAN chair: accelerate talks for a binding code of conduct in the South China Sea. After 2 decades of stalled negotiations, Manila wants real progress, rules that are enforceable, not just symbolic. The main sticking points: legal enforceability and the code's geographic scope. The Philippines and Vietnam insist on a binding agreement. China resists, wary of constraints. Manila will also push for practical de-escalation measures, hotlines, protocols, and greater maritime domain awareness. The challenge: advance these goals without alienating more cautious ASEAN members. The strategy: frame the code as a collective good for regional peace, not just a Philippine agenda. Success requires diplomatic finesse and unity. The outcome will shape the region's security architecture. The world is watching for a breakthrough. Alongside ASEAN diplomacy, the Philippines is strengthening security alliances, especially with the United States. The revitalized alliance includes expanded U.S. access to bases and larger joint exercises, reaffirming the Mutual Defense Treaty. U.S. officials have clarified: attacks on Philippine forces in the South China Sea trigger the treaty. Manila is also deepening ties with Japan, Australia, and other partners, building a network committed to a rules-based order. These partnerships provide technology, training, and diplomatic support. The logic: the Philippines cannot face China alone. By internationalizing the issue, Manila gains leverage in both ASEAN and its dealings with Beijing. This multi-pronged strategy is about deterrence and diplomacy. The world is watching how these alliances shape the balance of power. For Beijing, control of the South China Sea is about sovereignty, security, and economic lifelines. China's strategy: assertive actions at sea, backed by economic and diplomatic outreach to ASEAN states. The Belt and Road Initiative deepens dependencies, discouraging a unified ASEAN front. On the code of conduct, China will support talks but resist binding terms and broad geographic scope. Beijing uses influence with friendly ASEAN members to shape outcomes or stall negotiations. At sea, China maintains pressure on the Philippines, testing Manila's resolve. The goal: force bilateral deals and sideline ASEAN. China is playing the long game, confident in its growing power. The region must decide how to respond. The Philippines' ASEAN chairmanship comes at a pivotal moment for Southeast Asia. The outcome will shape regional security, ASEAN's credibility, and the future of the rules-based order. If ASEAN unites and advances a binding code of conduct, it reaffirms its central role and collective strength. Failure would deepen divisions and invite greater external intervention, eroding ASEAN's relevance. The maritime order is at stake. Will law or power decide the future of the South China Sea? Manila's leadership is about more than diplomacy. It's about defending a vision for the region. Sovereign equality, international law, and peaceful resolution are on the line. The Philippines enters this year with a landmark legal victory and growing alliances. The path is difficult, but the stakes are too high to turn back. The world is watching as Southeast Asia stands at a crossroads.